About 28% of workers right now are back in the office, with even more heading back this fall. But the pandemic has put the whole 9 to 5 in the office 5 days a week routine kind of in perspective for a lot of people, especially as we've been talking a lot about the Delta variant. So, what if you're just not ready to go back? Joining us this morning to talk about this, author of Stop Playing Safe: How to Be Braver in Your Work, Leadership, and Life, Dr. Margie Worrell. Doctor, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's say, so many people have been working from home. My husband's currently working from home. So what if you can do your job 100% remotely, but your job still wants you back in the office? How do you start that conversation?
Well, I think start by putting yourself in your boss's shoes. If you were running their company or organization, how would you feel about you being at home? And chances are there's some concerns that people who stay 100% remote are missing out on some of that team building, that office culture, those water cooler, coffee bar conversations. And so there's concern that people who do stay remote, even though they can do their job remotely, technically, are still missing out and won't be able to contribute and add as much value as they would if they were showing up at least some of the time.
Now, that is a really good point because you do. There's so much camaraderie and there is a little bit of team building, I think, even when we don't realize it. However, I think there are concerns for people's health. There are also some companies that are doing vaccine mandates. Maybe some people don't want to do that. How do you reconcile your health and what you want for you or your family with, wanting to go back to the office?
Well, actually, the research shows that people's health is a lower down their priority of concerns than actually just lifestyle. It's easier to stay working at home, to not have to do the daily commute, to be able to sit there in your pajama pants or whatever. And so when it comes to health, obviously organizations are putting people's health and safety really high on that list, whether it's in terms of, if we're mandating vaccines or saying if you're not vaccinated, you need to wear a mask. And that's completely legitimate for them to, and obviously they need to be doing that. So I think making sure that you aren't overblowing what some of those health and safety risks are, because the reality is if you're vaccinated, the chances of having your health imperiled in any major way is pretty low right now, even with the Delta variant. It's more that most of people, it's like it is, they just prefer, it just works better for them from a family situation to not be having to go into the office and be leaving home every day of the week.
Now, if I'm someone who is trying to get ahead in my career, should I be worried about working from home? I'm thinking of the, sort of out of sight, out of mind. Like, could I get
Yep.
skipped over for a promotion because I'm not at the job every day?
The short answer is yes, you could. And, I speak with a lot of people who are in leadership roles, and everyone says, when you have FaceTime with people, you build relationships, you have conversations, you see someone say, hey, I was just talking to this person, you should talk to that person. People who are showing up. I'm not saying 5 days a week, but that is showing their face regularly and having those conversations and building those relationships are going to be at an advantage over those who aren't. It's just human nature. You get to those people that you have the best friendships with, it's because you've had the most conversations with, because you feel comfortable with them, because you know them. And we can build rapport and trust and actually just show our value and add value when we are around people in person. So there's clearly going to be trade-offs for those who may say, I don't want to go back, or who don't go back as much as others are willing to.
And I love your insight about just the workplace in general. So I do want to ask you, not just the difficult conversation with your boss about, going back and, from working from home, any difficult conversation that you would have with your boss, especially for women. I'm just going to put myself out there. I get nervous to speak up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be seen as aggressive or rude or speaking up. How do we handle these tough conversations in the workplace?
Yeah, well, I always say it takes courage, and I've written about that in my book, Stop Playing Safe. It takes courage to have those conversations where they're a bit awkward, they're uncomfortable, there's a chance things mightn't go well. And I always say, start those conversations with your highest intention. Get really clear about what's in it, not just for you, but for the other person. If it's with your boss, what's the highest intention you have? You want the best possible outcome for all parties. And I think when we go into it from that place versus sort of being aggressive or going into it angry or defensive, it shifts the tone. And so if you're having a conversation about going back to work or how much you want to go back, maybe you're like, okay, I'm willing to do a day or two a week, but I don't want to go back all the time. Just saying to your boss, look, this conversation's sort of awkward for me, but I really want to make this work for you. I want to be a really valuable member of this team, and I just love your support in trying to figure out how can we make this work. And when you're approaching it that way, in a collaborative way, in a collegial way, with your best intentions, that's going to shift the way they're hearing it, and you're going to come up with a better outcome than if you're kind of being very demanding about it or entitled about it or aggressive about it.
I love that. I love that. Coming at the problem sort of as a problem solver. Dr. Worrell, thank you so much for being with us. This is great insight. We appreciate it.